So we have an excellent speaker lineup for today, and we hope you all enjoy the conference. So let's get into it. For those who don't know me, I'm Deepu K. Shashidharan. I'm the co-lead of the JHipster project. I work for a company called Zibia Labs. We build DevOps enterprise software, release orchestration and deployment automation, those kind of fancy stuff. So Julian Dubois, the founder and lead of JHipster, he'll be joining us after finishing a little bit of the keynote along with Pascal on the French track. So before we start, I would like to thank our sponsors. This conference would not be possible without them. So thanks to Ippon Technologies for organizing it last year and this year. And thanks to Societe Generale for being a platinum sponsor. And thanks to Okta, Microsoft, and Heroku for being our gold sponsors. Thanks from the entire team. So let's look at the agenda for today. So we have 2 tracks today. Last year we had 1 track. So this year we figured we could have 2 tracks, one in English and one in French. So on the English lineup, so after the keynote, we have 3 sessions before lunch. So Cindy, Pia, and Josh will be doing the first 3 talks. We have lunch followed by that. Last year we had a nice lunch. I think we also have a nice lunch this year. I haven't looked at that. If you haven't noticed, I barely made it on time, like last year. Last year I was 5 minutes late to the keynote. This year I barely made it on time. So that's an improvement. So after lunch we have Matt, Enrico, and Sendil. And we have a short break after that, and we have David, Mauricio, and John followed by that. I'm really sorry if I'm killing the names. I heard I can kill the names, like with the pronunciation especially. So I'm killing it. Okay, bad jokes. I'll try not to make bad jokes. Okay. So in the French track, it's going on in the other room. After keynote, we also have 9 talks there as well. We have a lot more speakers on the French track. I don't know why. Like, a lot more French people. I don't know why. I really don't know. So, Johan, Anthony, and David, along with Matthew and Ludovic, will be doing the first 3 talks, followed by the lunch. After lunch, we have Daniel, William, Christopher, Sabi, Pierre, and Christophe. We also have a short break, and then followed by Sabi, Hippolyte, and Florent. I'm really sorry for the pronunciation again. Okay. So those are the tracks. So let's see what's new with JHipster this year. So we had JHipster 6 release last month. So we are still keeping on with our 1-year release cycle, like 1 major version every year kind of release cycle. It kind of works out quite well for a project. So JHipster 6 has a lot of upgrades and some really cool features. So all the libraries used are updated, like Spring Boot, Spring Security, Angular, React, JUnit, Gradle. Everything has been updated to the latest version. We also have some cool features. So we have official JDK 11 support. JDK 12 also works. I think 13 should also work. We are still backward compatible with JDK 8 because, of course, it makes sense not to drop that so soon because majority of the community has not migrated to JDK 11 or anything yet. They are still on JDK 8, so we are still being backward compatible. That means we are still not writing any new syntax to be backward compatible. I think we won't be writing that until we drop JDK 8 support. So we just make sure that the generated projects can be built on JDK 11 and 12 and can be run on those. We have some new features. So we have changed our default packaging from war to jar, as Josh Long would say, make jar, not war. So we are finally doing that. Sorry, make jar, not war. That is what I said, right? Oh, stop confusing me. I get confused very easily. So you can, yeah. I don't want to go into my finding the way here. So it's a long story. So yeah, it's a maze. It's a maze. It was the maze last year. It's still the same maze. right? So, and it has multiple layers. No, I don't want to get into that. I get very excited when I get into that. So, so we have HTML5 push state support on all the client-side implementations. Finally, we have been thinking of doing that for like last 2 years, I guess. So finally, we have that. We also have lazy loading support on all our Angular entities as well. We already had that on React. No, so now it is on feature parity. We have lazy loading everywhere on both React and Angular. We have a nice new Bootstrap-based theme selector. When you generate a project, you can select a theme now instead of the vanilla Bootstrap theme that we had. We also populate fake data in development mode when you generate a new project, which is cool when you're demoing and when you're playing around, so you have some data to play around with. We use Faker.js for that. So these are the new features that we added. On the cloud front, so we upgraded to Spring Cloud Greenwich. We also have some nice improvements on the Kubernetes side. We have a new subgenerator for Kubernetes with Helm, thanks to Srinivasa Vasu, who contributed that. We also have better Istio support and Kiali support added for that. So now you can do observability with Kiali if you're doing Istio, and the Istio support in general is much better, and the entire Kubernetes support is much better now. One of the biggest new thing that we did is the Vue.js blueprint. So it started last year, and thanks to Sabi and the entire team behind the Vue.js blueprint, that was quite fast an implementation. Now we have a production grade implementation on the Vue.js front as well. So you can use the Vue.js module, you can install it, and you can run it with JHipster. To get a Vue.js client side instead of the default Angular or the React ones that you get in the generator. So on it has achieved feature parity with the React and Angular implementation already. So you can start using it already. It is out of beta, kind of. So please do install, try, and let us know what you think about it. Apparently, it is much more faster than our Angular and React implementation from the stats and comparisons that we did. I think Pierre and William, along with Sabi, I think, is doing a talk later in the French talk comparing all three, and they have a nice statistics generated from 3 client sites comparing the performance and everything. Looks quite nice. Vue.js looks really promising there. We are still discussing whether to merge this into the core generator as a default option or to keep it as a separate blueprint, you know. So that is still under discussion. So some team updates. I'm supposed to wait for Julian on this one. I still have 3 minutes. So I'm going to slow this down and wait for Julian so he can join and he can give some updates as well. But I can talk about this in the meanwhile. So in terms of the project itself, it is really doing well. We have like 100K installations per month and more than 2 million installations. I think around 2.3 million installations in NPM so far. We have more than 90K unique visitors to the website, which is quite good because if you look at the stats, it shows a steady increase. That shows the project is in very good health. So the interest is still there. So the JHipster registry had more than 1 million downloads from Docker Hub, which is kind of nice. So more than 1 million people apparently doing microservices with JHipster, maybe. So on the GitHub front, we are doing quite well as well. We have more than 14,000 stars, more than 500 contributors, and I would like to thank each and every one of the contributor on behalf of the entire team. So the success and growth of JHipster wouldn't be possible without all the contributors, and we have a really vibrant and like enthusiastic community. So thanks to everyone. So interestingly, we had more than 10K issues and PRs open so far, and there is only around 50 of them still open, right? So that means the community is really active and like really hardworking. Like to have a project of this magnitude and keep only like 50 open issues is like quite a achievement in my opinion, because that means people are really putting in a lot of effort. So thanks to the contributors again for that. In terms of core team, we have a lot of new members. So welcome everyone. They have done some really awesome work in the past year, and I'm really happy to have them all in the core team. We also have a new project co-lead, so Pascal Grimaud. I think many of you already know him. So has been doing an amazing work. So he is like the backbone, one of the backbones for the project. He is the one who makes sure that all our builds are always green. He meticulously keeps track of the Travis builds, the Ashur builds. I don't know how he does it, but he just keeps track of them. Like something breaks somewhere, he immediately knows, and he has a solution all the time. So he's like he has done some amazing work for JHipster in the past couple of years, and so it's a worthy I won't call it a promotion, but it's a deserved title to be the co-lead. So I'm glad that he's doing it along with Julian and me now. So it has taken a lot of responsibilities, or I would say stress from us. So I think I have been a bit less active this year thanks to Pascal, because he has been taking care of. So every time I skip few days and go back to the issues, oh, everything is sorted. Nice. So I don't have to do anything. I can go back. So awesome, thanks for that. So another nice thing that we did was so as the project was growing, it was becoming a bit tedious for only few people to lead it and manage stuff. So we introduced the concept of stream leads, because as you know that JHipster uses a lot of technology. It's like from client side to server side, there's a lot of technologies being used, and it's difficult for any one particular person to keep track of everything, right? So it made sense that we introduce some streams, and we have leads for each stream. Like we have a Java stream, we have Angular, React, Vue.js, Kotlin. So we have streams, and we have certain people leading each stream, which makes more sense, right? Because we have a lot of people with expertise in a particular area. Like say, for example, the security stream is led by Matt, because he has the security domain expertise. So the Kotlin stream is led by Sendil, for example. The Vue.js is led by Sabi, Angular by William, and so on. So it makes more sense, and also it means maintenance of the project is much easier. It is more distributed, so there are more people making decisions and driving the project, and we can see that because now we don't have only Julian or me or Pascal just going in and trying to make decisions where required, or trying to see the direction in particular streams. Now we have individual people driving that, which is awesome. So some of them are already doing that. Now they are officially driving those parts. So it is individually progressing, which is great for the project's health overall. So that has been a successful initiative that we did. Julian, wherever you are, it's time for you to come in, I think. If you're hiding somewhere there. So another interesting thing that we tried last year, and it has been a success so far, is our bug bounties program. I don't know if most of you know this, but we have open collective. We have an open collective where you can donate to the project. So we have some sponsorship schemes where gold sponsors, silver and bronze sponsors. So and also normal backers where you can just pay $2 to be a backer. So this is how people support the project back if they find it useful. So we have quite a number of backers, and we have Okta, and I think one another company joined recently as the gold sponsor. Okay, I'm not going to try to look it up. But yeah, we have nice sponsors and a lot of backers. Which means we have some inflow of cash, which as a community-driven project, we wanted to give back to the community, because in terms of the project, there is no huge expenses, right? Because most of us are like supported by the companies that we work for, and by companies like Ippon. They are supporting a lot of them. So this cash we wanted to give back to the community. So we introduced this Bug Bounties program. So basically how it works is, so we mark tickets on our backlog with a bounty. So we mark a certain amount. So we used to have just $100. Now we have introduced $200, $300, and $500 bounty. So we will mark a ticket with bounty and specify an amount on that. So there will be a certain number of tickets with that. And if you happen to work on anyone, like doesn't have to be a core team member, doesn't have to be an active contributor, anyone, like even a first time contributor. So if you work on a particular ticket, and if you create a PR, and if your PR gets merged, then you can claim that bounty, right? You submit an invoice to the Open Collective and you can get that bounty, right? So this is how we give back to the community. So we wanted to try this last year, and it has been a good success. I think a few other projects have started following a similar bounty program. So I think it helps the project back as well as the contributors, because you spend your personal time contributing and you get something. I know it's not a huge amount or anything. It wouldn't replace a regular job or anything, but at least like if you're spending some personal time on it, you're getting something back, right? So the bounty can be claimed by anyone, like can be a core team member, can be a new contributor, can be me, for example, like anyone, right? So it gives back to the community, and also it helps the project because there is a lot more contribution coming in. There is a motivation for people to work on certain tickets, which generally might not be that interesting, because then we can put a higher bounty on it. And it's also nice for our sponsors. Say for example, our gold sponsors, they get to ask for a certain number of bounties per month. So if our sponsors want to drive something, they can, because they are paying for these bounties, right? That means we can assign it to certain tickets and somebody can do it. And so it's like a win-win for the community, the project, as well as the sponsors. So it has been quite successful for us, and we hope to see more and more people participating and claiming bounties, and making this like making it into a much better program. So budget is nearly $30,000 per year based on current sponsorship and everything. There are still sponsoring slots if anyone is interested. So yep. So another kind of not an achievement, but something we should have done much earlier. This is in terms of diversity. So last year we had some talks, and like we started discussing about diversity in the community, and we decided that our default logo was like a white guy, right? So we thought maybe we should make it more diverse. So we hired someone to work on the logos and create more artwork for the community, which is more diverse. So we replaced it with a gender neutral new logo, which is just the hipster tie, which I think is nice. And we came up with something called the JHipster family. So these are the images that you see on the sides. So as initial samples, we came up with few. And we have a kit in our artwork repository, which you can use to build more. Like, so if anyone wants to contribute a different logo based on whichever diverse background you come from, you are welcome to use the kit, build the logo, and submit it back, and we will add it to our official logos. So we have some stickers. I think Julian will be bringing in the new logo stickers, so you are free to grab one. So this has been something we got a lot of positive feedback for this. So I think this is, we can kind of call it an achievement that we have done. I think we have to do much more in terms of diversity, definitely, but at least this is like a first step towards that. I think it would be nice to see a much more diverse contributor list as well. In terms of our current stats, we still have very less contribution from women. So it would be nice to encourage a more contribution on that side, because we really want to be a diverse and inclusive community, right? So, okay, it's quite late for Julian to come in. Is he stuck with something?
Yeah, yes, it's okay, but he's chatting with everyone on every topic.
He's still on the first slide? This is the slowest I could do, you know. Like normally I'm not someone who goes through things slow. And when Julian said, yeah, you need to be a bit slow to wait for me, I was like, damn, that's not my thing. I normally talk fast, you know. So talking slow is not my thing. I really have to put in effort to... Okay, so I'm trying to be slowest as possible. So, so, okay, so I can do the sloth. Probably you'll start throwing stuff at me if I do the sloth. So, so we added some new free tutorials. We call it JHipster Guides. So this is using Google Cloud Shell. So it's totally free. You don't have to install anything. You just need to have a Google account, and you need to register for the Google Cloud platform. I think the base tier is like free. So and the guides are free as well. So you can register for that, and you can start using those guides. It's perfect for newcomers because it explains a lot of JHipster base concepts in detail. It helps you get started, get familiar with the project, and try to contribute if you are interested in that, because it will help a lot of people. Because if you look at JHipster's audience or target users, right, the majority of the chunk is small startups and a lot of students and like people who are getting into software development, newcomers and stuff like that, right? So as much as we can do in terms of documentation, guides, and study material, it will help all of them, and it will help the community grow as well. And we are kind of proud that we are kind of tending to that target audience, right? We are not targeting like huge enterprises or like experts, for example. So we are targeting people who really need, who can really benefit from the project, right? So this is again in okay, I really need to wait for Julian now, because otherwise I'll just finish everything. So yeah, thank you. I only have like few more slides left. So questions? Yeah, I can take questions. Yeah, that could be fun. What's more fun than taking unprepared questions? Yes, questions? No? Come on, help me out here.
How many people write the documentation?
Yeah,
Are you aware of everybody that also writes the code?
mm-hmm.
They also do the documentation, or is it someone that's overseeing like the documentation in general?
Okay, so okay, I'll quickly answer that. So the question was, how many of us are writing documentation? So unfortunately, we don't have anyone dedicated who is writing documentation. The responsibility is on everyone to write documentation when they update features. And I think the community is quite good in that aspect of writing documentation. Yes, Julian. Sorry, I went as slow as possible. Slower than this.
Thanks a lot.
Slower than this would be sloth. So
Thanks a lot. Hi everyone. I was just having a look if we are on time. Yeah, we are totally in sync.
No, you were supposed to come in a bit earlier.
Oh, sorry.
I did some of your slides.
So sorry, I'm a bit late. So welcome everyone. So I'm Julien. I think you probably introduced me with it, so we can go on. I just wanted to talk about the roadmap of JHipster. So for this year, so you had a talk about what happened this year and what we did, and now that's what we are going to do. Well, trying to do. So the first main goal. So that's something which is a bit old. We've talked about that maybe for already the last 2 years, something like this. So the GDL, it's our domain language. It's highly popular, but from an historical perspective, we used to, well, we still have configuration files in JSON. So if you have played a little bit with Gipster, you have probably seen the yo-rc and all the files in the .gipster directory. So those work well, but people like to hack them, and it's not really made for that. So what we realize is that the GDL is much better for configuring everything. And also it's less work for us, because currently so we have two configuration mechanisms, one with the JSON files, one with the GDL. So at some point it's a bit of an headache for us. So the idea is that we centralize everything with the GDL, much easier for you and much easier for us. And by the way, if you want to use the GDL, there's an awesome plugin, Eclipse and Visual Studio Code plugin, which is called the Gipster IDE, which is done by Serrano, who should be here somewhere. Yes, he's here. So if you have questions about the Gipster IDE, he's the man. But that's also the good thing with an IDE. You can have auto-completion, you can have tons of help, which we can't do with JSON files, just JSON files. So we're going to push that, and hopefully we will also extend it to have more advanced stuff during generation. Like we could have abstract entities, we could have inheritance, you know, like in a normal language. We could have a cloud deployment also with the GDL. Today we know you'd have to type commands. We could also just code it with the GDL. And for this, one of the ideas is to merge also the GDL into the generator, because today it's two separate languages, two separate projects, and everything should be merged. So that's quite a lot of work, but well, we hope this can be done during the year. We'll put lots of bug bounties on that to motivate people. But I think that's a big goal for the year. The second big thing for this year, but it's nearly finished. Well, it's always the same thing, you know, like it's the last 5% that take the most time. You probably all know Preacher. So Preacher is something which is usually popular in the front-end world. And so we already use it in Gipster for TypeScript, for Markdown, for tons of languages, except in Java. It's an incredible code formatter. It's not really a formatter. It passes your language and then dumps it again perfectly well. And it's very fast because it's in JavaScript. So you can add it. Well, that's what we already do in Gipster. We add it as a Git hook. So as soon as you publish, or with your IDE, as soon as you save, it automatically formats everything perfectly. So it's really awesome on the front-end world, but it doesn't work for Java. Well, it doesn't used to work for Java. So we worked with well, a lot of people. We had several trainees from EPON who worked on it. We got also people from outside of EPON who worked on this. And we are doing the official Preacher for Java plugin. So it's the official one, which is good. And for this, we had also to create a specific project to parse Java in JavaScript. It didn't exist yet. So we had a lot of work to do that. And it's a very good parser because the guy doing this, well, the main person, Shahar, is like, I don't know, an expert in parsers. He's like incredible. He's done the thesis on this, and it's really incredible. So we've got an incredibly good parser, and then we need to use Preacher to dump everything correctly. It's nearly done. They told me they would do a release very, very soon. So this should arrive well, very quickly. And so there are two goals for this, with Gipster. The first one is what we generate, we push it through Preacher, so what we generate is always perfect. And we have less work. We can write bad templates. It's still going to go out perfectly well, so it's good for us. It's also good for you as users, because we will pre-install Preacher on, well, we already install it for TypeScript, Markdown, and so on. We'll also install it for Java. It's already working with your IDE because there's already the IDE plugins working. So your code, your Java code, your own Java code will also always be perfect and on the same, with the same formatter as what we have for the generator. So everything will always be perfect, which is really good. I'm expecting this is going to be very, very popular. Then there's another it's not really goal, it's a big tendency that is happening, which is very strange, well, very strange. I wasn't expecting that at the beginning. So a few years ago, because there's also an historical point of view on this, I started Jeepster with AngularJS, and I had to add 2 front-end quite quickly because, you know, AngularJS, they just dumped everything and they created Angular. So I had to have 2 front-end, which was a bit annoying, but it worked. So after that, some people added React. Yeah. And after that, some people added Vue.js because you could. And that's awesome that we have now 3 different front-ends. Well, we dumped AngularJS, so we only have 3 now. And as we have different front-ends, well, you could have different backends. Why not? So the first one was Jeepster Kotlin, which is working. Sandil is doing it in his ear. So he announced it last year. It's working. This one is complex, but not too complex, because it's still Jeepster. Well, I mean, it's still Spring, it's still the same thing. And now we got people doing it in very different technologies. So Micronaut and Quarkus are based on the JDK. Micronaut is very close to Spring. So those 2 ones are doable, but it's more work. I know Micronaut will announce something on the 18th of July, I think. So they got a new product that should work totally with Jeepster. So it's secret, so I can't announce anything because I don't know. But I know that next month there will be a big announcement. So those 2 ones, especially Micronaut, are going very fast. They're Jeepster.net, so .NET port of Jeepster. So there will be a talk this afternoon, I don't remember when it goes, with Daniel from Michelin, so it's a French talk. How we ported Jeepster to .NET. It's got something, well, it's not finished, but it's really working. It's very, very advanced. And we had people porting it to Node.js. That's very new, but I see lots of commits that seem to be very, very motivated. So that should also happen very quickly. So it's very strange. We have all those backend technologies arriving. But from a microservice point of view, it's very good. It means that you can choose the best technology you want for your microservice. And this is changing a little bit what the core team is doing. Well, first of all, we need to welcome all those people. And they come from different backgrounds, so it can be a little bit weird sometimes. They're not all friends with each other and so on, so we need to welcome everyone. As they go inside our organization, we can give them some bug bounties to help them, so that's also good. And for us, it means we need to have a better REST API, because the only specification we have in the end is a REST API. So we need to have a perfect REST API for everybody. And we also need to improve our end-to-end test with Protractor, because basically this is testing everything. Whether you are in Java or .NET, it's the same thing. Oh, yeah. I need to hurry. One big move from last year, but we're still pushing it, is migration to Azure Pipelines and Azure DevOps. Azure on Java is really good, you know. No, it's really a joke. So I joined Microsoft 1 month ago, and we did that like 1 year ago. So it was a lot before I had any idea about Microsoft. The real reason why we moved to Azure is that because they give 10 parallel builds, and they are very powerful. And so we used to be on Travis. Travis is only 5 builds. They are not as powerful. And also Travis, you know, the company got bought, and they had little, well, I would say like strange management issues. So we didn't want to be with them too much now. We're a bit afraid of it. So we migrated to Azure DevOps, and it's working really well, all for free. So we're happy, we don't pay. And we'll probably push Azure deployment this year for a very good reason, is that as it's my job, well, I can do it. Well, I don't have to do it. They tell me I do whatever I want, but I find it that it's cool that I can, you know, be paid to do some Jeepster by my company. So I will probably do that during the year. It's not very hard, in fact. It's one last big trend for next year, and this is something we need to discuss. I mean, all together also, because so we have pushed the cloud and especially Kubernetes a lot during the last couple of years, and today we have like 2 big trends. There are people who want to use it with Spring Cloud, which is what we were traditionally doing, you know, with Eureka, with Istrix, with Spring Cloud config. And that works very well. You are totally independent of Kubernetes. So if you want to install the same stuff on your laptop without Kubernetes, it works very well. So that's awesome. And then we've got some other people, especially I'm thinking of my friends from Carrefour, so it's a big French retail company. They will do a talk this morning in French about the usage of JHipster. And Carrefour, typically, they want to be full Kubernetes native. That means they use Istio and so on instead of Eureka and Istrix. They don't use spring.config. They use Kubernetes config files. So when you do that, you rely on Kubernetes, so you need to have a Kubernetes server, a cluster. It cannot work without Kubernetes. But on the other hand, it removes a lot of code and a lot of trouble that we have. And many people are pushing those as being something easier. If I talk from a JHipster perspective, it means that your microservice would be like monoliths. You've got nothing specific for a microservice. So that's a very interesting trend, and I'm not sure we can support both because it's kind of a lot of work. At some point, we need to choose and push something. So I guess we will have to choose and discuss this. And one of the interesting things with this conference is that we can all talk together. I see a lot of push on this part, but it didn't win yet. We still have to discuss this. We're going to push a little bit more distributed caching with. So we have memcached support. I did that like 6 months ago maybe, and I want to do something with Redis. Well, because on Azure we only got Redis, so I need to have Redis for myself. But I realized that if you want a very cheap distributed cache that is managed by the cloud, we still have a big investment on Hazelcast and distributed Java caches, but those ones are not supported out of the box by cloud provider. So if we want something cheap and easy, Redis and memcached are easier. So I'm going to push those ones. It's not very hard, but I think it's interesting for many people. And then we have an open discussion on serverless. We have nothing specific on serverless. We could quite easily do serverless with JHipster, but we don't really know if it's a good idea. So there's open discussion on that during the year, probably. I think we did everything. We're a little bit late, but not too late. So thanks a lot. Thanks, everybody. I hope you'll have a great conference. I'm very happy to have so many people and that we have 2 tracks. I'm a bit surprised because we have tons of people in the French track. I was expecting more people in the English track because French people can do both languages. But they seem to be a little bit lazy, so it looks like all the foreigners are coming to the English tracks, and the French people don't even come because it's easier in French. But well, that's a bit surprising. So have a great conference, and if you have questions or want to talk about everything we announced, well, please do. Please come. It's the one time in the year when we can do it, so don't hesitate. Oh, the French are coming. Whoa. Thank you. And thank you, Deepu.
I think we are probably late by 5 minutes from our schedule. So maybe the morning, the 3 sessions, maybe we can push 5 minutes, so that others have time to set up and everything as well. So yeah. So I'd like to welcome Cindy for the next talk. So thank you, everyone. I hope you all enjoy today.